Hello everyone, this is Yun Chen, and in this video, I want to introduce you to the Dygraph package in R. So the Dygraphs package in R is actually an interface to the Dygraphs JavaScript charting library, but I found it really easy and convenient to use in R as well, and it creates really beautiful and useful chart for time series data. So I think in this tutorial, I will be covering the first 5 features of Dygraphs. So firstly, I will show you how you can plot time series object automatically with Dygraphs. And secondly, I will show you how you can play around with axis and series display. And the third one is I'll show you how you can use the rich interactive features of Dygraph. And first point is that how you can display upper and lower bars, which is really useful for prediction intervals. And lastly, I will show you how you can include shaded regions and event lines. Those are really also some important factors of time series data as well. So without further ado, let's jump right into the R demonstration part. So the data I will be using today come from Fed, Federal Reserve Economic Data, and I'm using CPI, Consumer Price Index for United States and China. Those are index and not seasonally adjusted and monthly data. So this is how the data look like after I merge them together. I have one column for date, one column for United States, one column for China. So in R, the first thing you want to do, of course, is to import your data. So since my data is in Excel file, I will be using this read Excel function. So you specify where your data is. And I want R to recognize my data types, which is I have first column as date, second column as numeric, and third column as numeric as well. Okay, and I also want to change my column names. API data to be simpler and easy to identify. So the first column is date, second is US, and third is China. So let's run it and see how the data looks like. So you can see it's nicely imported and formatted. Okay, good. So now we can plot. So the first thing you want to pay attention to when using Dygraph is that Dygraphs only accept time series object. So you need to transform your data to time series object using this TS function. And for the first parameter, you specify your data. So I want to use US first, US only first. So, and then you specify frequency, which stands for number of observations per union time. So my data is monthly data. There are 12 months in a year, and I put down 12 here. But if you are using quarterly data, so there are 4 quarters in a year, then you will put down 4. And the last thing you want to include is the starting point of your data. So my data starts at September 1999, and that's what I put down here. If you're using quarter data, you will put down the second quarter or the third quarter. And now with that time series object, you can plot without specifying any other parameters. You can have a very simple time series graph. So you see you have your date on the x-axis and your value on the y-axis. And as you move your mouse, there are values shown in the upper part with the exact date and the value. And another nice feature that's set to default is when you highlight a region, a period of time is zoom in to that region. Okay, you can have like better observation just for April 2007 to July 2008, and then you double click to go back. Okay, but this is definitely not a good graph because if you don't see the code, you have no idea what it's talking about. So next, I want to show you how you can add title and labels and some other features. So you want to put your DY graph as usual, and you include a title by using this main equals. So my data is CPI, not seasonally adjusted, and it has all items for United States. Okay, and then you use this pipeline mark to pipe other dy functions. So I want to give my series a label and change its color. I will be used to manipulate series. I use dy series. And so you can see its defaults to be V1 here. So I want to change it. So I put down V1 here, and I'll give it a label called United States CPI. And I want the color to be red. Okay. And I want to pipe something more. So I want to add label to the y-axis. So my audience will know what the y-axis stands for. So I will be using the axis for that to play around with that axis. So I'm doing it to y-axis. So put down y, and I want to add the label for it. So the label is index because it's index data with 2015 data set to 100. Okay, and you can specify value range here as well. I want to put range for your access, but it's not needed in my case. So I'm going to delete this. And some other thing you can pipe as well by using this dy options function. You can change the line width of your access, because if you think this is too thin, you can use this to increase it. Maybe I set it to 1.5. And if you want to fill the area underneath your lines, you use fill graph and you set it to be 2. And another thing I also want to do is you change your fill alpha to make it more transparent, so it's prettier. Put on 0.1. And if you want to lose the grid lines here, wait, what is happening? Sorry. If you want to lose your grid line there, you use this draw grid and you set it to be false. Okay. And let's see how it looks like now. So you have your series colored red with the underneath area filled with your Y label, with your title. Let's try to make it even more prettier. So you can see how it's really inconvenient to have values shown only in the upper section. You have to read every time and your eyes are going to be up there and then down here. So to deal with that, you can specify your legend to show follow. Okay, see. And now you would have legend following your mouse, which is really convenient to read the numbers. And then another thing you can add is a range selector. You can select using in this way, but with a selector, it can be actually even more convenient. So you can specify a height for your selector, make your mouse easier to hover around here. So here, this is my selector. See, this is very straightforward and easy to use. A very good interactive feature. Okay, so that's like the basic with Dygraph, how you can play around with access and labels and titles. So now, of course, you would have multiple time series in one data set, and you want to show them all together. And to do that, you would create a new time series object. And this time, I would be using China and China and United States all together. So frequency is still 12, and starting point is still 1999 and September. And then you use Dygraph on that data. See, it automatically have legend shown, and when you hover around the two lines, they move together. Like you have the ratings up there. Okay. And you can add similar features as before. So you can add the legend follow here and the axis here. Okay, you type it. See, it's very useful features. And if you want to change the legend and color of your different time series, you again use this dy series function. This is really straightforward. To deal with access, you use dy access. To have like other option, like other features, it's all included in this dy option. And to change your series, you use dy series. I think this is like really intuitive and straightforward. So I will change the label to be United States, and I'll change the dy series of my China line to have label called China. And I want to change their color, so let's specify them here. Red for United States and blue for China. Okay. Let's see. Oh, and I forgot to include the titles, but anyway, you can see with few underneath, it's easier to see the difference, to spot the difference. And when you zoom in, it's really easy to read the difference in between them. Okay. So another important factor of time series data is that there are always events that go with dates. You know, some specific events happen at a specific date, and that would affect your data, like how it's going down or it's going up. So to do that, Dygraphs also has this special feature called the dy event. So I will be copy pasting this entire Dygraph here, so I can have all the features I've set, and I'll add a titling this time. So I have CPI not seasonally adjusted all items. Okay. And to add event, you use dy events. So let's add the COVID-19 event in it. So how you do it is that for the first parameter, you put down the time, the exact time of your event, which is December 1, and then you put down the name of your event. It's called COVID-19, and you specify where you want the event to the name to show. So I want it to show at the bottom. Okay, let's see. So here it has this event line going all the way up there. So let's zoom in so we can see better. So see, this is really easy now. You wonder why there's a sudden spike for China's CPI. This is why. This is because COVID-19 first exploded in China and it caused a sudden skyrocketed CPI. And then later on, earlier in 2021, it spread to United States, also caused another increase in United States as well. So you can see how using event line really helps you to understand the data. And there are also another type of event, which are events that last for a certain period of time. So in that case, you would want to use something called dy shading. Let's add it there. So for example, the 2008 financial crisis. So the DY shading, for DY shading, you would want to clarify where it started. So let's say the whole year of 2008 is financial crisis. So that's what you do. Okay. Let's see, this time period is shaded now. But unfortunately, Dygraph does not have a feature for you to add names to your shadings. So the only way you can do it is add an event line in between the shading to tell your audience that what this shading is about. So let's add it here. So maybe put in May, in the middle of the year. Okay, let's go 2008 financial crisis. And I want it to be located at the bottom. Okay, see? In this way, people would intuitively think that this whole shaded area stands for financial crisis. It lasts for like a whole year, basically. You can see, I think this is where government stepped in and issued some policies. But anyway, that's not the point of this tutorial. Okay, so the last part I want to introduce you guys to is how you can show prediction in this chart, because prediction is a very important modeling part of time series data, and visualization is again an important part of prediction. So let me show that here. So I will be predicting China's CPI in this case. So let's pull out the CPI data from there. And again, frequency is 12. Start point is September 1999. And I will be using whole winters prediction models. You can use any other prediction models you like. I just think hot winters works best a lot of times. So you specify a hot winters object using this and put down the data here, and you record your prediction object using this predict function along with hot winter models. And this n.ahead basically tells the function to predict 36 predictions. So that's 36 months, 3 years. Okay, and very important, you want to include your interval. So you would have a lower bound and upper bound for that prediction. Okay, this is nice. And then you combine using the cbind function of your original old data and the predicted data. Okay, and then you plot it using Dygraph, just like before. So my data is all now, and CPI is still not seasonally adjusted. All items for China. Okay, and you type other features. So I need to change the label to show people what is the actual data and what is predicted data. So China CPI is my actual data, and then type again and this is where you need to pay attention. So to include upper and lower bound, so basically you want to show that prediction interval for this first parameter here, you want to specify all 3 values. So I have predicted lower bound, I have predicted fit, which is that final prediction, and predicted upper bound. Okay, and I want to label it to be predicted. Okay, let's see. Now let's zoom in here. So you can see after August, this is the prediction for September, all the way to 2024, 3 years afterwards. And you have the upper bound there and the lower bound here, just to show like the range of your prediction. So I think this is a great prediction. It captures the trend and the seasonality. But there are other ways to evaluate whether your prediction works good, but because this is in the future, no one really knows. So I will be showing you using like old data, so you can have actual data and predicted data all showing in the same time period to see how your prediction is performing. Okay, to do that, you would want to only take the first 200, say, data from your time series data. So I'm still using China, and I'm only taking the first 200 data, so I can predict later on and have something to compare to. The start point is still 90, 99, 90. And declare your whole winters model with this object here, and again predicted function, and then predict, and you specify your and head. So for the after the first 200, I would still have 64 months to go. So 64 months here, and I want to include interval in this case. So set this to be true and combine it. So in this case, I want to combine everything for China CPI and the prediction for that 64 months. And then you draw the graph using this same lines of codes here, but the all has changed because we are predicting the last 64 months. Let's see. Okay, good. Let's zoom in on this period. So in this way, you can really see how your prediction is doing. I think it's actually doing really good. It captures the trend, like the ups and downs, with some, very minor mistakes. So yeah, so that's it. Thank you guys. I hope you learned something from my tutorial. Thank you for watching.